Hello, everyone. We're live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, our viewers, and thank you for our friends. Thank you for our guest. Thank you. We're thanking our guest because she's online already. And before we just go into the show proper, I want to welcome everyone connecting. I'd like to know where you're connecting from. Please send in your name and where you're connecting from so you can be well welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the very first show for the year 2023. That's so great having you all here. It's a great year and it's going to be very fantabulous. Everything's going to work out for our good. Everything's going to work out, and we will have great testimony. Working with the end in mind. We're working with the end in mind, believing God that 2023 is going to end in a grand style, in a great way. Yes, and but we need to work based on God's instruction, based on God's guidance and teaching, so that our year can end up in a great way. So I want to welcome our guests and also want to welcome everyone. And before I just go in, I want to introduce myself before I say what the show is all about. My name is Sandra Ukoh. I'm a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member. That is, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker and a trainer. I'm also your sales expert of over 20 years in the IT industry. I'm an author and a member of the Toastmaster International. And today we have a guest with us. But before we could bring in our guest, we'd like to just say what the show is all about, what making a difference with Sandra Ukoh is all about. So I'm going to be playing the. Hi, you're welcome to Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh. I believe there is a great giant in you waiting to be discovered and unearthed. You have within you right now all that you need to become that change agent and the best version of you that God has made you to be. It is time to ignite you and discover your greater potential and to see the possibilities that exist within you to help you maximize your potential. Through this unique platform for mentoring, training, teaching, and coaching people on how they can become better versions of themselves after being through trauma and trials in their finances, business, career, relationships, and a lot more. At Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh Live Show, we leverage the power of storytelling, coaching, mentorship, and value creation to help bring about the best in people in order to create a world of difference. This show requires bringing us to assessing our value system and process of recreation of a good value system to help shape our thoughts through the guests that share their story on this platform. This process opens our eyes to new strategies, information, and value perspective that will help us define and refine our value system with more clarity on our why. We need to know our why. Why am I here? What have I been called to do or to solve? To help people live with a mindset, begin with the end in mind, and to stand out in all that we are called to do. You can join us live on Monday at 5 p.m. EST, 10 p.m. West African time. And if you have a great story or testimony to share, you can reach us via our contact info@deepinsightword.com. We will respond as soon as we get your details, or you send out your details via this link. Thank you, and you are welcome to today's episode. Hello, I hope you all felt welcome. That's our little way of saying welcome to this show. So welcoming our guests and welcoming all our viewers all around the globe. Thank you for joining us. And before I bring in our special guest, I just quickly want to read a short bio. Lillian Jackson is a principled leader. She's committed to working in and helping others in their journey through life's many lessons in a spirit of compassion and resilience. Lillian is an Army veteran who understands the value of having values. She values education and has obtained a BS in Business Administration and MS in Clinical Mental Health with a concentration in Pastoring Counseling and certification as a Maxwell Leadership Coach, trainer, and speaker. With over 25 years of experience in management, human resources, and customer service, Lillian has first-handed knowledge of how we can get in the way of attaining our destiny. Lillian believes that lives are changed by pouring into others, and she continuously strives to pair our faith and work via volunteerism, teaching, speaking, mentoring, and mental health therapy. Lillian Jackson endeavors to spread the truth about God's love, the truth about the power within, and she will work in truth with you towards your inescapable destiny. That's a great one. So we are glad to have you today. And the next person's voice you get here is Lillian, our guest, Lillian Jackson. Great to have you, ma'am.
Thanks for
I'm so
having me.
excited, and I'm sure you are.
I'm so excited to be here with you.
Thank
And
you. So we're glad to have you. And I know that I just read your bio, but there could be something missing out from it. Maybe you want to tell us something that I didn't, read out or something where you're making a difference in your world. I know you're very busy.
well, there's lots to say about me. What's important for today? I am me. And I know who I am. And so, how do I make a difference? I just extend myself out and give people permission to be themselves.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
so I travel, I do transformation trips with the Maxwell Foundation. I volunteer in the community at church, and so, yeah, my hands are busy, but life has been good up until this
Awesome.
point, right?
Awesome. Very great to have you. And just because we want to keep to our time frame, I don't want to, extend it more than 30 to 45 minutes. So we just go straight because I know you have a lot to tell us, a lot of stories. So, and I tell people, I say your story is what makes you unique. No two people have the same story. Just like the no two people having the same fingerprints.
Right.
We are so unique and so different. God has made everyone, complete, So, and today we want to just glean from you and hear from you. What has informed all the gathering of knowledge? Because I see that you have MSc, you have BSc, and you're still reading. So what's the propelling force? What's your motivation? What's your passion?
So I think, actually, I know that learning is the key. And I say that because we are perpetual learners, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. From birth, we are perpetual learners. So babies do what? They start scooting and then they crawl and then they
Yeah,
walk and they run and then they try to figure out how to hold a fork and a spoon. And that is a perpetual thing
you know,
because we're never born with all of the knowledge in the world. And so I've made it a point just through encountering people throughout my life and to make it a point to continue to learn, to be curious, because when you're curious, then you open yourself up to possibility.
yeah,
And I find that when I'm stagnant, when I'm stuck in my comfortable zone, I don't want to learn nothing, add anything new. I just want to be. Then I find that darkness takes over because I know everything I'm willing to learn. But when I open myself up to learn more, there's so much more that I have yet to learn.
yeah,
And so it keeps the excitement to just go out and expose yourself to more, to be willing to do the things that you've never done because you don't know everything about everything. But it's when you lose that curiosity about people, places, things, yourself, foods, whatever it might be, that you just you spiral out because we were never meant to just stay stagnant.
not at all.
And so being a perpetual learner is something that I've grabbed a hold on early on. And I just stay curious because curiosity didn't kill the cat. Curiosity
Yes, sure.
actually makes your life richer. And so, curiosity, be curious. Be curious about yourself. Be curious about others. And don't be a know it all because you don't know it all.
Awesome. Don't be a know. We are perpetual learners. That's awesome. Hey, and true, what you just said, we are, perpetual learners. Right from the time we were given birth to, we learn how to work, we learn how to call the first letter, ba, 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 we learn how to do everything. And you find that once a child is, being appreciated or being cheered up, he wants to do more. And
Mhm.
when the toddler wants to work, he takes the first step. I mean,
Mhm.
if you scream, the child goes down on his and
Right.
just sits back. But when you cheer that child and say, "You're doing good, come on, come on," and
Mhm.
everybody's exciting the child, he keeps doing more, he keeps taking more legs. And that's what learning is all about.
Mhm.
As you keep learning, you keep opening yourself up to newer information, and you're excited because you're learning more. You're learning
Mhm.
more. Like your Ellie said, we were never born to know all.
Mhm.
Otherwise, there'll be no need for school. They just, come out of the belly, start working, start talking, start eating, and that's it. Life would have
If
been
you
boring.
know everything at birth, then what's the need of connection? What's the need of seeking wisdom? What's the need of asking someone how to do something you've never done? Because you were born knowing it all. And so, I'm still learning.
I
In
am
my
a
years,
lifelong learner.
I'm still learning. I learned
You
so many
know,
things these last few weeks. And it's like, I didn't know that. That's I, like a special was on TV last night about Dionne Warwick. And I'm like, I knew about some of her songs, but I didn't realize she had that many albums before I even became aware of, and such an amazing career before I even became aware of who she was. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then just to find out that her when her album Keep Smiling, the song that she
keep
dedicated.
smiling.
And yeah, she actually gave all of the royalties to that entire song to
Wow.
AIDS Research. I just learned that last night. And how old am I? I've been listening to her for years. And so
Mm,
you find out things about people and what inspires them to continue to evolve and to grow and do. And
mm,
and it's like, wow, so why am I stuck? There's so much more to this world. And so that was like a quick, I see you, Dion, right? Here it is, 2023, and I'm just learning about this aspect of her life. And so
yeah.
you never know everything about everything or
Like
everyone.
you earlier said, no
Mhm.
one was born to be stagnant. And one thing that comes to mind every time, I remember the Dead Sea. He said it's called the Dead Sea because it doesn't flow to others. He
Exactly.
just stays in one place. And once you're stagnant, you smell, you
And nothing can
stink,
live in you.
because you don't give to others. There's no refreshment coming into you. You just have to yourself, you're keeping to yourself. And that's
Right.
why it's said when you're stingy. What is stingy? Being stingy. You're keeping everything you've got. You're not spreading it out. And it
Well,
says,
and also you have a closed fist. So
yes,
what can you receive if your hands are
you
closed?
can't. You
Right.
can't.
And so, yeah, that it just lets us know that they talk, we hear the circle of life, right? What
It
is
is.
the circle of life? It's really about connection one to another, wisdom flowing from one to another, right? Joy, experience, like connectedness is the human condition that we all live with. And it is when we sever that connection and we decide, I need nothing from anyone. I don't need to learn anything. I don't need to ask for anything. I can do it by myself, for myself. That's a lonely, dark place.
Yeah.
And we were never wired
To be
to
so.
be alone, because if that was the case, babies will be born in cocoons, be like, "Ah," and get up and go about their life.
You
But
know,
instead, from birth,
there is
someone's
a
there,
connection.
right?
Awesome.
Someone's there, and children, they show the design of humanity. Why? Because they are looking to mimic
Yeah.
someone that has gone before them. And so we weren't designed to be alone. And as a coach, as a therapist, as even as an army veteran, recognizing that someone has done it before you. So
Mm,
seek them out and find out what wisdom they carry you lack.
awesome. You said
That
it all.
will shorten your journey. You'll get
And
to
that's
your,
what the show is all about.
yeah, you will shorten your,
Digging from others. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. You've
exactly.
been through it before, you failed, I can glean from you and learn from you. What made
Absolutely.
you fail?
I
How did
learned
you
from my
overcome it?
9-year-old nephew, right? My
Yeah.
9-year-old nephew teaches me a lot of things.
Wow.
And so I'm like, little boy, what planet are you from? Like, you're like
So,
ancient. And so this is what I tell him. I tell his mom, he's ancient. He's been here like for 50,000 years. He's
yeah.
ancient days because he'll say something. I'm like, where did you come from?
Oh my God.
Where did you come from? Like, no 9-year-old saying that. Like, and so
Wow.
I learned even from him.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of
Learning has no barrier.
perspective.
Yeah.
If I value you, then I'll value what you have to share.
Yeah.
If I don't value you, it doesn't matter what you have to share. I don't value you. And so it doesn't matter what your experiences are. It doesn't matter that you can cut down my journey. I don't value enough to listen. And so
Wow.
I'm deciding, key, I'm deciding because I don't value you that I'm going to run into that wall full steam ahead, even though you have the key to that door right there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Learning makes your life richer, like you earlier said. And when we learn, we evolve to a newer version of ourselves, which is
absolutely.
awesome. Why would you not want to learn? Because you continue to be your old self. And it is said it's insanity for you to continue to do something in an old way and expect a change.
Well, you also have to recognize that to learn, to grow, to stretch, you have to be willing to say, it's okay, I'll be uncomfortable. And uncomfortable means I have to look at myself. I have to look at those places and spaces in here that don't line up with where I want to go
Sure.
and be authentic enough with myself and truthful enough with myself to say, okay, Lillian, this over here, that's getting in the way. You won't ever accomplish that goal because that's in the way. You won't ever be significant if you don't get out of your own way. If your comfort of being closed off
Hmm.
in your own world is what you prefer, then you're preferring to stay where you are.
Yeah.
And so I don't have the right to now complain about my circumstances because I've decided that my comfort is more important.
Yeah. Like you
So that
likely said,
yeah, yeah,
no one is self-helped. We're all God helped, except and you earlier said, no, if God doesn't want us to be in a family, in a connection, it would probably babies wouldn't have been born by women. Would have just come out from a cocoon, grow up, and just take care of ourselves. But
exactly.
because God wants us, the Bible says God places people in the solitary in families. God knows the importance of family, and God knows what it is, and that's why we have a connection. You don't choose your father and mother, neither do
Mm-hmm.
you choose your siblings. You
Right,
just get into the world, and this is who you met. This are
right,
your family, and you've got to just find a way to live with them. And it
right.
says there is connection. There must be a
Mhm.
connection. Do you
So
understand?
think about the connection here. It says where one walks alone, he's easily overtaken,
Yeah, sure.
but a three-strand cord is not easily broken. That
Yeah,
simply
very
reminds
difficult.
us that being connected, right? Being connected, being part of a group,
Yeah,
you're stronger as a fist than you are a finger.
yeah,
And so I don't know about you, but I don't like starting over from scratch. If someone's going to say, here's the shortcuts, avoid this hole, avoid that hole, go left, not right, do this, do that, and then you'll end up here. Oh, for real? That's what I got to do? That's easy for me.
sure.
Why do I want to go and reinvent this if you're going to give me a shortcut? And then once I get there, I might say, there's a better way to do that. But I'm going to take your shortcut first.
Yeah,
And then when I get there, I can tweak it. I can make it my own. I can enhance it the way it flavors me, right?
yeah, you can own it.
I can own it, right? And now I'm gonna it's like making a stew. You like, this stew is so good, Sandra. And then girl, I'm gonna give you the recipe. Okay, good. And then I might take it home and say, it's good, but I like spice.
Sure.
I'm gonna take some cayenne pepper, some red pepper flakes, and all of these spices and make it spicy. It doesn't mean that your stew was bad. It simply means that I made it to appease me.
Yeah.
I just enhance what you gave me.
You make it your brand.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. That's a great one. We are born to be connected and we learn. And I tell people, I said the faster way to get to wherever you need to get in life. And that's why school, there is, informal and formal school where we get to learn different things. We learn how to sew, we learn
Mm-hmm.
how to write and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's because we do not need to reinvent the wheel. Like you earlier said, if I know there are better ways to do a thing, why do I have to go the difficult way? And it is said if you want to go fast in life, you go alone. But if you want to go far and achieving and doing more, then you go with a team. And going with a team means there must be a connection with you and the team that you're going to go forth with. So you've got to be able to connect, collaborate together. And this is the age that people will need to come together to collaborate because, itself, it says, woe to him that is alone in the day of trouble. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
person of faith. So I know that, there is a connection. That's why the necessity of being in church. Some people tell you, I'll connect online. It is different from being in the four walls of the church. The corporate
Mm-hmm.
anointing, there is a power when people come together than
Mm-hmm.
you being alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the case that you have something going wrong with you, how
Mm-hmm.
would help come from you for you? And that's when you find out some people die in their houses because there's nobody living with them. Nobody is able to call for help. And once you stumble, no one is there to lift you up. So there
Mm-hmm.
is the need for us to connect and go beyond our words to reach out to others. In
Absolutely.
reaching out to others, we'll learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
That we
Absolutely.
spice up life and make life a little more and more interesting. You want to say something?
No, I'm just agreeing
Oh,
with you. But
okay. I thought you wanted to say something. So life is all about, being in a family and the
mm,
importance of being, and that's why it is said there are three things that makes a man. The book
mm-hmm.
or the resources that you allow inside of you, the
Mm,
people you hang around, and the environment you grow. If
mm-hmm.
you're growing in an environment where it's, very poisonous and you don't have the right people there, it's going to affect you
Mm-hmm.
because as much as possible, you've been in that environment for years. So it will take you some years to unlearn those negative habits, those negative words to go off you. Who are
Mm-hmm.
the people that you hang around? What do they say to you?
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that make you. Then the resources you expose
That's
yourself to.
part of it. That's part of it. I'm going to add to that though.
Yeah,
What do you say to yourself?
yeah,
Because people can say whatever they want to say, but do you believe it? And then if you don't believe it, what do you say to yourself in return? Because your words are more powerful than theirs.
yeah,
But if you go along with what they say, then you've given voice to the outsiders. And then you don't realize who you are because you ignore your own voice. That's one of the key things is not just the people you're around, but what do you say to you?
hmm,
And if your language to yourself is not something that you would say to your mom or your best friend or the Pope, then why are you saying it to yourself?
sure.
So
And
you
that's
have to
why,
guard your self talk also. It's not just external, because that is a factor. But then what am I doing to myself? Because I mean, I grew up in a single parent home in an underprivileged area. And we were statistics. We were supposed to be statistics in that, in where I'm from. And so you had to worry about gangs and drugs and all of this violence. And so when you recognize that, yeah, that's the environment in which I grew up in, but I still have a choice.
yeah,
I have a choice to believe whether or not that's all that I am, is where I live, where I'm from. And so just know that when you rise above and say, no, this is not all for me, I'm going to go for more, people will talk also.
they would.
It's not just that the fact that you stay with them in it, it's also if you decide to leave them and do better.
Sure.
And so that negative self-talk will seep in if you allow the naysayers that want to keep you in the bucket or the ones that want to drag you back in the bucket, right? Because they will come. No, at all levels of success, naysayers will be there. However, your voice rings louder because you are with you every day.
Yeah. And what you just rightly said is like the crab relationship. The crab never wants the other one to get better. You
Mm-hmm.
can find that when the other one is trying to come up, he drags him back.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to be here together. So
Mm-hmm.
we do not have to live like a crowd, but we
Mm-hmm.
need to help each other. It is said that
Absolutely.
leaders are people who knows the way and
Mm-hmm.
show the way to others. You don't know the way and keep it to yourself and hoard it, but you
Mm-hmm.
open it up for others to come and learn and glean. And we
Mm-hmm.
become better when we do that. Because you open
Absolutely.
up, you never know who you're opening up to. Who will be
Mm-hmm.
there to help you when you are in your down moments. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I tell people, I say, you never know. Life was never promised to be a bed of roses. But the
Mm-hmm.
days that you have some negative and down moments, then who would come to your rescue? Who will be there to help you? Like I
Mm-hmm.
earlier want to ask a question. All through the period of your garden of knowledge, did you have ever have a difficult times? Was life ever tough for you? What did you do at such instance? How did you get out of it?
Okay. So lots of difficult moments. And I'm a wife. I didn't say that. Been married for 26 years. Didn't say that. I'm also a person of faith. I didn't say that. However, I will say that in a season of my life when I was my own worst enemy, I was mad at the world. I didn't like people. I didn't want to help anybody. I didn't want to share. And so at some point, I looked in the mirror and I'm like, is this it? Is this it? This can't be it. Because I keep hearing about this better life, these blessings. And so I decided, because I didn't grow up in a Christian home, I kind of like adopted it. I was like, okay, God, I keep hearing what everyone else says about you. What do you say about you? And that began my journey of searching for answers and clues about how to live this life. What did I find? I found not this horrible story. I found this book of love letters to me that says who I am, that says what I was created to do and who I was created to be and how well I'm loved. And there's a father. And I'm like, a father? I didn't grow up with a father, you know? Like, I don't even know what that is. What's that supposed to look like? And so even adjusting to God the Father, they leave, they abandon, right? They don't show up for you. I'm like,
Get you.
I don't know if I want to trust you. And so you go through this whole thing, and then you see that as you press in and you get curious, and you press in some more, and you're like, okay, that's good right there. Oh, okay. I could do that. I could do. Oh, faith. I don't know what that is. What's that again? And you start exploring, you start digging, and you get curious even more, and then you get excited. You're like, wait, I didn't know that was in there. Wait, you said this about me. Hey, wait, this. And so
I'm
you
loved.
discover all of these things. And so in this time in my life when I was just searching and I was in this dark place of, I kept myself isolated from people. I didn't hang out with people. I was mean to people on purpose because I didn't want them to talk to me. I know, I know. That's not the version of me you know, Sandra. However, I can say I was a wretch undone and I was not kind. I was not patient. I had lots of anger all the time. And it came from single parent home, being bullied as a kid because I didn't
Yeah.
look like the rest of my neighbors. Being bullied as a kid because I didn't talk like the rest of my neighbors. Although I was in an all black neighborhood, it was like, you don't fit, you talk white, you act white, and so even being rejected in your community, you put on a facade or a mask that says, I don't need anybody. Don't talk to me. I don't care. I can do it by myself. And that was the shroud that I wore. And I didn't realize how heavy that shroud was until I couldn't breathe one day. I
Mm.
couldn't breathe. And I'm like, there has to be more to this life. And so, yeah, I pursued God. Although I know, I kept hearing, yeah, he's a good guy. Well, I didn't know that. Why? Because I didn't have a relationship with him.
Mm.
But as soon as I entered into relationship with him and tried to understand his ways, try to understand who God says he is, try to understand the path that he's laid out for his children, try to understand what it means to be a believer, I discovered something in the scriptures that helped me make that shift from darkness. And that shift was really, I found the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah,
Right?
awesome.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness,
Yeah.
gentleness, and self-control. And when I discovered that, it was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And so now that is now my measuring stick of how I am as a human being. That's my measuring stick on whether or not I am loving my neighbor. That's my measuring stick on how well I am a wife. That's my measuring stick on what type of leader I am. That's my measuring stick on how I show up for the young people in my life, the old people in my life. That's my measuring stick. And so when I took the gaze off of myself and what was going to make me comfortable and how I was going to be this and how I was going to be that, and I turned it on, how can I live out and walk out what I say is my values as a believer? And so now I smile all the time. Not
Sure.
because it's fake, but because it says, yes, things happen, but that's not the end of my story.
Yeah.
Yes, trials come. Yes, I experience disappointment, but that's not the end of my story. That's just this moment. But what about my next moment? And then my next moment. And I give
Sure.
my moments an opportunity to take a life of their own. I don't drag anything from yesterday. I don't drag any of that baggage, because when I carry that baggage, man, ooh, talk about darkness. Talk about living in unforgiveness because of how people treated you. Like, they
Mm.
don't even realize they wronged me. And here I am 10, 20, 30 years later, carrying baggage that they don't even know about.
Sure.
Example. I was, like I said, I was a very angry person. So you didn't get any do-overs with me back in the day. So one person did something that I just did not like. It felt like betrayal to me. And so I was so intent on letting them know that they hurt me. And so don't think ill of me, but I want you to see that there's possibility of a transformation.
Yeah.
I they were in my wedding. I went through my photo album and cut them out of every single picture. I put it in a Ziploc bag and I took it to work the next day and handed it to them because I wanted them to know that I was hurt. Right? Fast forward, I wouldn't speak to them after that, right? They would say hi to me, I would act like they weren't talking to me. Fast forward, I now am pursuing God. And he's like, you need to take care of this right here. What? I don't even know where they are.
No, you can't hide for too long.
And I had to find them. And I sent them a message. This was when MySpace was a thing. Sent them a message apologizing for what had happened like 10 years before. And they were like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But
You
I
moved
have
on.
the constant reminder. And so this is the kick in the butt, right? I attempted to find the photographer from my wedding to get the pictures reprinted, and I couldn't find him. So now every time I pull out my wedding album, I have the reminder of my unforgiveness. I have the reminder that I was operating in my own feelings and I didn't care what the other person had going on. It was about how I felt and I wanted you to hurt too. But really, I hurt myself because now I have the permanent reminder of a season in my life where unforgiveness was rooted deeply and I lived it out daily. Fast forward to now, I can laugh at that version of me because I realized how
Transformed
ridiculous
that.
it was. I was 19 when I got married, right? But I realized how ridiculous that was to cut out my photos. And I can't take it back. And so you have to really examine your why. Why am I responding in this way? And what's the
Mm.
ramification of that?
Mm.
Because once I do it, I can't take it back.
Yeah.
And so it's self-reflection. So my process, to get back to your question, my process
Yeah.
of going through difficult times
I
is it would
appreciate your sincerity and I appreciate all the truths. But you find that it is said that hurting people hurt people. You were
mm-hmm,
hurt those moments of your life. And but you never knew how better to, give that to God.
mm-hmm. Well,
When
I
you
didn't have a relationship with him then.
yes, that's why you were keeping it. But I earlier told I tell people, I said, when you bottle things inside of you, when you
Mm-hmm.
keep unforgiveness, you are doing yourself more harm than the other party. The other
Absolutely.
party is free and going about his or her business daily
Absolutely.
and free. You are
Absolutely.
keeping a lot of baggages. You are looking at the past. And it is
Mm-hmm.
said that when you look at the past, you can move up. You can
Mm-hmm.
move on.
Mm-hmm.
So you were keeping yourself. But I'm glad that, God took you through this process and
Mm-hmm.
changed you. Because a lot of times, what I tell Christians, he said, how you know if you're growing, check your love gauge.
Mm-hmm.
Do you love people? Do you want to
Absolutely.
help people?
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, the fruit of the spirit, love, supersedes every other thing. Love
Absolutely.
is a measuring gauge just to check. Are you in the faith? Do you love to help people? Do you love to give? Are you willing to help? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you found a relationship with him early enough to be able to retrace your steps. You can imagine if you had died or those people passed on,
Mm-hmm.
you would have felt so, you would have been embittered,
Mm-hmm.
thinking maybe you caused their death or maybe something. But
Or
life is
you
all
just
in
never get to
phases.
close that chapter, right?
Yeah.
So thank God for second chances and thirds and
So
fifths, 100s.
yeah, and that's why we have to get out of our negative zones.
Mm-hmm.
Negative zones. We've all had people that have failed us, people that have wronged us, but we've
Mm-hmm.
got to look beyond that and look up to God and leave those things. Yes, if you can meet the people and just try to treat what the odds is good, but whereas it's of no need to carry bottling feelings that you cannot unburn because it opens you up for a lot of things, opens you up to even sickness,
Mm-hmm.
negative things, not
Mm-hmm.
making progress in your life. You remain in the status quo. You're not making an impact in any way, and that's because we've allowed the negative side of us to reflect. Every one of us have it, but we deal with it because we found the love of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
We downplay it and we play more of the God side in our
Mm-hmm.
lives.
Yeah.
And because the Spirit of God is in us, there is always a check in us to live right for Him. So it is said, what do not stretch you does not grow you. So when we go living our comfort zone and going through pains and coming out of it, we find out that we mature, we grow, we pick new things. Like you said, rightly, you move from being a negative minded person to becoming a positive person because you left your
Mm-hmm.
comfort zone to learn more about the love of Christ. And you
Mm-hmm.
kept on learning and learning. And you found that, oh, this is true. This is not fake. This is not just another writing by someone. And you embraced it. And before you know it, it changed everything about you. That was awesome. I actually needed to just go back to it again to say you've got to leave your negative zone. And you've got to leave. And that's why God says God lifts people from the solitary and place them amongst families. And that's why we need to plug into the right system. What
Mm-hmm.
family, what are the people around you saying? What do you belong to a church? Do you belong
Mm-hmm.
to people of faith that can encourage you? Do
Mm-hmm.
you have people you trust that you can, open up to and say, okay, this is what I'm facing? I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure if you had someone talk to you early enough, you'd have let go long before now, before then. But because you were going through it yourself until you found the love of Christ. But if you had someone around you who noticed you were doing this, probably call you and speak to you, you'll find that you will leave those negative thoughts and start doing the things, start, letting go of every negative situation or hurting from other people. And so that's
So
why it's always good to be in a circle of people.
yeah. So I'm gonna
So,
go back to what I said. Children mimic people.
yes.
And so that whole vein of unforgiveness, what did I witness? What did I glean from, oh, if somebody wrongs you, you cut them off, you don't deal with them, right?
Yeah.
And so that was modeled in my life by people around me, people that you are born to, not just, in the home, but distant, extended family, whatever. And so you notice that, so, well, they can't ask me for anything. And because they did blah, 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 blah. And so you're watching this and it's like, oh, that's the norm. So you accept that as the norm. And so without even realizing that's faulty doctrine, right? That it's harmful doctrine. You embody it because that's what you see done. And so even though that's what I saw done, it wasn't until the layers of me started getting peeled back that I noticed that that is not kind, it's not healthy, it's just destructive. And yeah, I wasn't a very happy person when I was holding on to that doctrine. And so I'm just curious of, like, your listeners, what faulty doctrine did you adopt and hold on to from whenever?
Yeah,
From
try
where?
it.
What faulty doctrine is yours that you want to let go of, that you know is hurting you? We all encounter faulty doctrine at some point.
Sure.
And it's one of the famous ones from back in the day is what's done in this house stays in this house. A lot of people get hurt by that. Or you don't talk about family business. Well, a lot of people have been hurt by family business. And so when we keep this shroud of secrecy around things, and even doctrine and traditions, we imprison ourselves and others to the darkness that's there, because that was never intended to be part of who we are.
Sure.
So I'm just curious, because I know I grew up with a lot of faulty doctrine.
Yeah, but what's the most important, is just rediscovering yourself, getting yourself out of it. Because a lot of people get into faulty doctrines and they well and stay all their life in those cocoon. And this
Mhm.
limits them from breaking out to becoming the best versions of themselves. So,
Because it's the disease of comfort. It's the
yeah,
disease of comfort. I call it a disease because when I'm comfortable, I don't move forward. When I'm
yeah,
comfortable, I don't learn anything new. When I'm comfortable, I'm just like this. And I hear people say all the time, "This is just the way that I am." Well, if that was just the way that I am back then, I would not be here talking to you today.
sure.
Right? And so I believe, because we are designed to be perpetual learners, that we are never static, never meant to be static, never meant to be the same as we were 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 50 minutes ago. Because I learned something every day, all day, from somewhere, some source that makes me better. And
Sure.
maybe it's because that's what I'm pursuing, to be the best version of me, not a cookie cutter of somebody else,
Not at all.
but the best version of me. And so I tell people, I only know how to be me. I can't tell you how to be you, but I can tell you how I got to be me. I
Yeah.
had to ask myself the tough questions. And if I can hold that mirror up to myself and ask those tough questions and cringe at what I see, then I'm well on the way of learning me.
Yeah.
And that's the best part of being a student. I get to be a student of myself. And nobody can say I'm wrong, because you can't tell me what I like and what I don't like.
Sure.
Right? So I love that I get to be a student of me. And nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah. You can see that your story went from survivor to being successful. And success is not just, it's not a destination. We live for success to becoming, significant. And like,
Mhm.
okay, how do I impact my community? Because you've gone from, painful situation, trials in life, dark moments, you went all the way to overcoming those survival mentality, and now you became successful, and now you're like, oh, now that I'm better, I think I want to help some other people around me. I think I want to reach out to, let people understand that you can be better versions of yourself. Like you rightly said, challenges actually or failures, yes, they are painful, but we learn more from them than we do learn from success. If success is not managed well, it gets into you.
Mm.
But failure, you find out that whenever you fail or have challenges, it takes you back to the drawing board to find out, what did I do wrong? How do I get better? What do I need to do?
So what is that?
That's
It's
failure.
it's curiosity.
Yeah.
It's curiosity.
Yeah, sure. Because you
What
want more.
Right, right. So when you know that curiosity is a part of all growth, of all success, of all significance, curiosity is what it motivates you to go after
Yeah, it
what you
keeps you going.
it does. And I love what Zig Ziglar said to tie all of this together. He said, if you help enough people get what they want, then you'll get what you want. And
Sure.
so now I'm just about the business of how can I help you? How can I support you? How can I, mentor you? How can I challenge you to be more, right? Not more of me, but more of you. And what I find when I ask that question, people say, I don't know. And that's usually because they're not taking the steps to be reflective of who they are. They're looking outside of themselves for the world to tell them who they are. And the world can't tell you because they don't know who they
No,
are.
they don't know you.
Right. They don't
They
know
make you.
you. They don't know what you're wired to create and build and develop and share and what insights are in you. They don't know that. And so I'm not after the trends. I'm not after what's popular. I'm after what's for me. And what is for me is whatever I focus on that is going to make me better every day, make me wiser every day, more compassionate every day, more empathetic every day. And so I challenge myself to get outside my comfort zone. How do I do that? Well, I love that being a member of the Maxwell Leadership certified team, I get opportunities, right? And so I just got back from Papua New Guinea for a country transformation trip. Amazing experience. Amazing experience. Something I never even fathomed in my whole world. To
Who led
go,
this trip? Was it the John Maxwell family?
it was John the Maxwell Foundation and the Papua New Guinea Tribal Foundation collaborated and brought coaches over. And so we were there to train facilitators. I'm going to tell you, I went to serve, and I'm telling you, the experience was so rich and so full of relationships. I got to see an entire country ignited for change together, like so compassionate and so
Mm.
excited and so willing to share their culture and their traditions. And I met so many amazing people, and they were just like so willing to just give of themselves and their time and to witness it. And I at one of the events, like, so one of the volunteers, his name is Graham, and amazing, amazing, amazing man. However, he didn't see that when we first got there. He was just like, oh, I'm just a stay at home dad who homeschools my kids. I'm like, just a stay at home dad? Do you realize how powerful your position is right now? Your ministry to your children is powerful. And so, just encouraging. And so as a coach, I was like, oh, I get to encourage somebody. This is awesome. And it didn't go on deaf ears, because unbeknownst to me, he went home and talked about me to his family. And I met his wife the next day. I didn't know who she was. She knew who I was. And I greeted her, and Miss Hilda, she was just like, hi. And she introduced me to her whole family. And it was just like built on relationships. And just even hearing the process after that
Mm.
encounter, they went from house to house, visiting brothers and sisters and spending hours at each house, talking about what they experienced and what they wanted to do with it. And I was just like, that's amazing, because in the culture now in the US, most people don't even have 5 minutes for you. let
So
alone out.
everybody is in a cocoon of theirs.
Right. And so to relationship be like the formative piece of this entire country,
Yeah.
I would not have gotten to experience that had I stayed in me. I would not have gotten to go out and serve as a coach, as a trainer, and experience such a rich culture. Like the country has over 850 languages, over 1,000 active tribes, and I got to encounter them and spend time with them and just be loved on by them. It was like going home, and I'm not even from
That was
there.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yay. And that's why I said relationship is key. They are the
ab-
sheep that were right on to destiny because you touch a lot of lives and you
absolutely,
were moving in destiny. That's what we are called to do.
absolutely.
We're meant to, bring men, help them to become better versions of themselves, reconcile them to God. And that's the
Mm,
ministry that's been committed to
yeah,
every one of us, building
absolutely,
relationships, getting
absolutely.
to help people, bringing the best versions of themselves. You rightly said if you help people, in return, you get to help yourself. So, like
Absolutely.
you rightly said, if you don't realize what is in your hands, you can get anything. So you can do just with only what you have. So in spreading and overflowing to all this, we get freshness, we get more, and we get to touch lives. Like if you never excited or talked to that man, making him feel valued, you probably wouldn't have met with his family. He learned to Lord and he felt loved and cherished. So he went
Mhm,
about spreading the good news and bringing
mhm,
everyone to get to know you. You built a network of relationship. And that's why I said it is the basis of life. You can
mhm,
imagine someone living alone, not having anyone to talk to. He'll be
mhm,
miserable. He'll be tired. He'll be worn out because he's
mhm,
just in his world.
mhm,
Nobody, he's not flowing to anyone. He's not getting any knowledge. He's not strengthening himself. And I appreciate all that you just said. And when you had great moments, how did you celebrate? Then I want you to wrap up this story with just a unique story, something you've experienced because we've shot our time over. But I want us no, but that's awesome. No, it's great because we are gleaning from you, we are getting more value from you. So I didn't want to cut you short when you were speaking, and I wanted things to just flow the way the Spirit of God wants it. So I like you to share with us moments I know knew you spoke about when you were down, how you came out of your low moments, how you became a better version. But whilst doing all this, there are times things went good for you. How did you
mhm.
celebrate? And what unique story that is unique to you that you think will impact my viewers and also impact myself? I'm in a journey, my own journey of learning. So I'm learning from you.
So, how do I celebrate my victories? One victory at a time. I sit with it, I reflect on it, and I just give myself permission to feel it. I don't glaze over it because a victory is a victory no matter how small.
Yeah.
Even being able to do this interview, like most of us introverts will say, I'm an introvert, I can't do that.
No,
Or I'm a CS, I can't do that, It's outside of my comfort zone. And so I've learned that when I say no, I'm saying no to myself. And so saying yes, even to sitting with you today, that's a victory for me.
sure.
Victory for me just because you'll notice my social media is pretty bare because I rarely post.
Oh my God.
Full candor, I rarely post. And it's not because I don't have anything to share that's happened in my life. It's just I don't have anything to share that's happened in my life, if that makes sense.
I get
Um,
you.
and so really it's about I love to just be in the moment with people. And so I celebrate that in the moment with people. And I be in the moment. And that is more important in celebrating my victories because like now I get to say I did it. I didn't call Sandra at the last minute and say, girl, I'm not showing up.
Oh my God.
So this is a victory for me. And how am I going
And I'm excited.
I'm gonna tell people, hey, you have to go check out this interview that I did.
I'll share the link again with you. And thank you. Do you have any story just to wrap it up and we'll call it a
So
day?
a story about overcoming. Um, so just 2021. Yeah, I have to remember we're in the new year. So 2021. I was struggling with this transition into being a coach, right? And I'm just like, coach, I don't want to do that. Speak, I don't want to do that either. Training,
No.
mm, I'm behind the scenes kind of girl. I don't want to do that either. And so I was struggling with this whole transition into this space. And then I was driving down the road, and it was like my whole life flashed in front of me, my entire life, because I was like, I'm not equipped for this. My that inadequacy, that spirit of
And that's
inadequacy
what God leveraged on. Paul was
surged up,
never ready.
right? And I was
Everyone
like,
God used,
I
he
was like,
never
you got the
prepared.
wrong one, Jesus. It's not me. I was like, did you? I was like, I think you sent me the wrong download, Lord. I think that download was for somebody else. And then my whole life flashed in front of me. And I saw in elementary school, we were required to do oratory competitions on stage in front of the community and our parents and the school. In high school, I did broadcasting with a teleprompter and a camera. I was like, oh, this is so cool, not realizing the relevance. Fast forward, I trained people, I facilitated, I VCT'd, I did virtual conferences while I was in the military. Didn't think anything of it. Fast forward, I'm training, I'm teaching, I'm presenting, I'm doing all of these things. And I'm like, oh, that's nothing. That was just part of my job. And what God said was, I wouldn't have called you if you weren't prepared. Everything that seemed random throughout my life was not, it was preparation. And so everything, even the things I thought were ridiculous and that I didn't want to do, everything prepared me for today.
Hmm.
And he showed me that nothing that you've been through is wasted. Nothing. I can use it all. And
Sure.
so I'm here today because he can use all of that. He can use all of my
Sure.
disappointments, all of my failures, all of my fears. He can use it all.
Sure. And God doesn't go for the equipped. He goes for the unequipped and he equips them, makes them better. So that you're able to come back to give thanks to him. Because if you're equipped, I'm sure you're going to be counting your numbers. I did
Mm,
this, I did that, achieved. But when God uses the unequipped, he equips you. So you're
mm,
able to rely and just relax on him and
yeah.
ask for strength. But if you feel like, oh my God, I'm a macho, I know everything, I'm a know-it-all, you won't call on God. And
Mm-mm.
sincerely, and that's why he said pride comes before a fall. God elevates the humble. When you think you don't have anything good, and that's when God comes. That's when God steps in and makes it a better one. And that's
Yeah.
what your life has been. It's been a testimony. Just like you rightly said, the devil is showing you some other negative pictures. But
Mm-hmm.
God took you down the memory lane. You did
Mm-hmm.
this, you did that, you did this, counting your blessings, looking inward. And I'm like, that gave you some courage to say, okay, then this is what God wants for me. So
Exactly.
whatever we go through in life, we can look at it. Oh my God, these are mistakes. They're none. God builds on those things we call mistakes to make us a better one. So that you remember where you're coming from, how God pick you from the donkey and place you among princes, among kings. That's what
Mm-hmm.
God wants you to do, to be able to think back, oh, if not for God, I won't be here. We
Mm-hmm.
all have, difficult times where we're coming from and how God lifts us up and how we came out to become better versions of ourselves. It
Absolutely.
wouldn't, without God, we wouldn't have been here. So I'm very grateful to God and I'm so grateful you could make out this lovely time. I thought we were going to be done by 45 minutes. I think this is 1 hour. Thank you for giving me your time out of your busy schedule. I'm really grateful. And I also want to thank our viewers who have been here online for a while. I also want to look if there's any communication, just a second. I want to get back to checking if there's any question. Whilst doing that, I just want to play a video. I don't want to just go bare and quiet. I want to check. Thank you. We're back from the short break, and I have some comments. Be willing to expose yourself from Jamis. Ollie, I think maybe one of your friends. God, your self talk. That's so good. That's awesome. Thank God for your change. The change you experience as you change. That's a good summary of Lillian's story. Like she seemed to know you so well. She just said this is a summary of all you've been through. Thank you so much, our viewers. I also want to thank you again for being on this show. And you are the reason why we come here every Monday to, share stories, learn from people. I have gained a lot from you, and I'm sure our viewers today have learned a lot. I think with these we've learned, we can go out in our world to make a difference. We can be a people of difference. We can touch lives. So we learn from others in order not to reinvent the wheel. So let's go out in our world to making a difference in 2023. The year is still very new, the 2nd of January, 2023. Let's go out there to be a people of difference. Thank you so much. My love to your family, and bye.